back. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. My God. My God. We haven't seen this man in so long. You know, you were starting to become a theory here on the program. My friend, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of your favorite NFL podcast that has been sweeping the YouTube ranks for a long, long time now. It's been several years. And the duo that was on that first pilot episode is back. Sir. Myself, the Podfather, joining me this week. Or, no, I'm not the Podfather. Excuse me. I'm the Iceman. I was thinking of the Podfather because he is not here for a majority of this episode. Allegedly, Justin, we're getting him on remote location, wherever he is. Towards the end. Allegedly. But in the meanwhile, I'm joined by my compatriot in chaos, the games master of this program, Mr. Worldwide. Justin, how are we doing?
Good.
You know, I was going to get that in. How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Man, I'm fantastic, especially the fact that you're back, brother. How's everything been? You know, it's honestly, it's worked out. The 0-4, and you were suspended, and during the suspension, you were like, you know what? I'm gonna take some time off, and you went. Yeah, you traveled. You ensured that you would not have to watch any New York Jets football, which honestly, it feels like it's been a win-win last couple of weeks for you.
I failed at that. I had to watch it in LA.
Oh, really?
Early. I was off of work. I was like, yeah, they caught me.
Yeah, you tortured yourself a little bit. You're like, you know what?
I didn't even have like a chance. Like I was downstairs getting dinner, and the elevators broke, and I was on the 11th floor. So I literally I was like, I have to stay here until the elevators are fixed at least. And of course, it went way past the game. Like eventually, I just walked up 11 flights of stairs. But like, they forced me down there. They were like, "You ain't going nowhere. You're gonna suffer through the pain of being a Jets fan." So,
and suffer, you did. If we're being honest,
I did. They fooled me. They had me after the first draft. I was like, "What? Who is this team?" And then the Jets came back.
Yeah. They did what was expected of them in the end of the day. But hey, got some draft picks at least. That's the future.
Yeah, because the best time to be a Jets fan is fucking April.
So is 5 to 10 cents go in the swear jar, just in inflation at this point for how much I'll have to put in. Well, Justin, now that they've gotten rid of the penny, we have to raise everything up. So it could end up being a quarter here on the program soon.
I can give you a euro. I got some euro left over.
I might need those in the future. But in all seriousness, what we have going forward in this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is fun. We will be talking about more teams that are not currently in the postseason, but for very different reasons, ultimately speaking, as the title says, and as we are going to be kind of going in and out of this over the next couple of weeks. I don't know how much we'll end up talking about this next week, but, you know, Justin, we kind of went through the postseason picture as it was last week, the Podfather and I did, and we went through what at that point was the 14 playoff teams, and we're like, how for real do we take them at having more of a deep run than anything, like legitimacy of them being a playoff team. And now we're going on the other side of the tracks, although sort of doing the same thing for these teams. So as in my research for this, as I informed you in the Podfather, of the 14 playoff teams, 7 in each conference from last season, 6 of them are currently not in the postseason picture at this moment. None are officially mathematically eliminated yet. But we'll be talking about these 6 specific teams and their potential odds to make it back, or if we think their season is long gone, which we probably will think about this for some of these teams. We will talk about what went wrong and what they need to improve on. And along with these 6 teams, 3 on each side, 3 from the AFC, 3 from the NFC, we have one additional team on each side that had some hope, some faith going into the preseason, the start of the regular season, perennial playoff teams over the last, like, let's say 5 or so years to add to the conversation. Because why not? Ultimately. So we're going to honestly just go straight into that on this episode. Justin, we waste no time that you're back now, buddy. Outsiders looking into the playoffs will be the main discussion topic point for this episode. I will let you, as one of the returning co-hosts of our triumvirate and troublesome trifecta here, what side do you want to start on first, the AFC or the NFC?
I feel like the AFC is a little more interesting.
Ooh, I like it.
They're both pretty interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially with some of the teams that are in the AFC and the NFC. Ultimately, it's a good time. But we will start out guest of honor / co-host selects, and we will be talking about the NFC to start things off. So Justin, as we know, it's the 4 teams on each side. We'll be discussing the 3 teams that made it last year and the 1 team that had a little bit of preseason hype. Considering what happened to them last week, let's get the preseason hype team out of the way. They currently sit as the 12th seed in the conference, 3-7 on the season. The Cincinnati Bengals are the additional team that we are adding on the AFC side for us to discuss because, of course, as we know, the 7 teams are in the postseason now. The 3 other teams we're going to get to here momentarily, Justin. Adding in the Bengals, that was 11 teams going into the preseason where we're like, I mean, including the teams that are currently in the picture. It's like, like the talent, the potential, the offensive weapons this team has. If the defense can be just enough on certain games, X, Y, and Z, maybe Zach Taylor will be a good enough coach. But we all know why it's unraveled ultimately. So I'll throw it to you. What hope, if any, do the Bengals really have of making it back into the postseason this year? And if they just ultimately don't, if we want to, declare them DOA for this episode, or would it be not on arrival? I'd say that's a long acronym for rest of the season, so we're just going to ignore the acronym aspect of it if we believe their goose is cooked as an outsider into the postseason picture. What the heck do they need to fix going forward?
Well, I mean, it felt like they were within spitting distance of an actual real playoff run. But it turns out that
it's a heck of a measurement.
another Joe Burrow injury, and all of a sudden, these guys can't do anything anymore. I mean, even bringing Flacco in, which did reinvigorate the offense, and it did make them better. It didn't fix the defense. It didn't fix the offensive line. It fixed the run game a little bit, but it's still paltry. And now they are at the thick of their schedule. They are at the toughest part because as much as we thought it would probably start next week, the Patriots are 9-2, and they are a team to be messed with right now. Odds of them winning this game are low, but I expect it to be a shootout. If the Jets could score that many points on that Patriot defense, I'm sure that the Bengals could, even without Jamar Chase, who's going to be suspended for a game. And then they play the Ravens, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, the Bills, who are still 7-3 and, among the best teams in the division or conference, rather. The Dolphins somehow are still alive, and then they play the Cardinals in the divisional round. Browns is just always a tough game because they have a nasty defense. I mean, they should be able to sack them 100 times, especially the way that defensive line has been playing, even though they're not necessarily winning games for it. But yeah, at this point, I'd let Joe Burrow sit the rest of the season and, fire the coach, fire the GM, get some people in there that know how to actually build a team, because they've been coasting off the success of their young quarterback, and they are not good enough to be a playoff team without him, clearly. And they are not good enough to win with him because the team that they put around him is just not good. So maybe they'll benefit off of a high draft pick and fix this offensive line finally, get someone who could really evaluate some player growth and fix that secondary because it's bad.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head, and those discussions are happening right now in Cincinnati as we speak. Where it's not us, it's media people, it's other podcasters, newspapers, and of course the Bengals themselves are asking the question that you kind of just brought up of, is it even worth it to have Joe Burrow come back for this season? Literally just on the prospect of, are you going to risk him getting hurt again behind this awful offensive line, or even a freak injury happening? Like, I will see the people that are going to give merit to it wouldn't do him right to, if he is able to play enough, that getting him in-game reps to end the season wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you manage it. Now you have to trust Zach Taylor to manage the situation, and you have to trust the offensive line to not completely let him get slaughtered back there, which is, a couple bold choices you need to make for yourself internally and ask. But ultimately, whether they do make that decision or not, and look, for as long as we've been covering the Bengals on this podcast, let's just say that great decision-making in them tend to be, every once in a while, intersects, but it's more parallel lines going away from each other than anything. So I think we will still see him, and they may have like a game or two where it's like, but we know it's over. They're 3-7 right now. They're so behind. They're way behind the 8 ball. Their last victory, if I'm not mistaken, it was that Steelers game, right? Nearly a month ago at this point, where it was that shootout against the Steelers the first time they faced. Unexpectedly absolutely torched him. That was Joe Flacco's kind of like one game revival for him. And then from then on, like we saw a bunch of games, and really, it's funny because we talked about it from the perspective of we were assuming Joe Burrow as the quarterback, this would be the problem. And the same issue popped up even with Flacco because the offense, we got to give him credit, Justin. The offense was still humming and hawing for a good few games, but that defense, that the Jets game and the Bears game, or the two.
46 points up to the Jets, 47 points up to the Jets. It doesn't matter. They let up in the 40s
to both teams.
Jets.
To both teams.
I don't care. I know what the Jets have done on offense this year.
Not a lot.
There was a game where I had more net passing yards than Joe Flacco did. Than Justin
Fields. I think a lot of America did.
Everyone in America did.
Yeah.
Everyone that didn't play football that week had more net passing yards than Justin Fields. They just fenced him for 36-year-old Tyrod Taylor. Okay. Their quarterback situation is disgusting.
Yeah, not good. And neither was the Bengals once Joe Burrow went down, because he went down in that second game of the season against the Jaguars. They ended up winning that game 31-27. This has been some of this was also interceptions and defensive touchdowns. We understand this. I think this first game I'm going to make note of is that, but just listen to the points against that this team has had to deal with, and whether it's a combination of defense, special teams, or the offense letting up scores, which is definitely the case on some of these. So ever since Joe Burrow went down from that Jacksonville game, 48 points to the Vikings total. Broncos scored 28. Lions scored 37. Packers scored 27. They let up 31 to the Steelers, but that was their last win. Like you mentioned, 39 points against the Jets. The 40-burger was actually against the Bears. The 47 points against the Bears. So between the Bears and the Jets, I carry the 88 points between those two teams. Even admittedly, the Podfather and I giving a bit of praise last week to what Ben Johnson has been able to do this season for that Bears team, would not have expected a random 40-point outburst. If they were going to do that, you would have figured it'd be against Matt Eberflus of all people. And then 34 points to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not good. And even that Jaguars game that they won when Burrow went out and Browning was actually able to play somewhat respectable, at least was able to help them hold on to the win. 27 points allowed. The only time this season they've allowed less than 20 points in a game was the season opening game against the Browns. That's not great. That's not good in any way, shape, or form.
Jerg, they have the most points against by 34.
Yeah.
They're second worst in point differential at negative 106.
The only reason they're not worse, they're not the worst, is because of the fact that the offense in certain games was able to perform. Like if they had never made the Joe Flacco trade, God forbid what this team would be right now. They may not have won a single game with Jake Browning. Truthfully, I think it's proven he's not even a backup quarterback in this league. Which, I mean, he's technically a backup if you could just have him on the roster. But you saw what happens when he gets in the game. It just wasn't turning out well. So I think we both agree it's over. You already kind of made notes of what they need to do. But yeah, do you actually think, Justin, despite the fact that it's once again another lost season, you think it'll almost be a positive for this team, the fact that they're finally going to get an extremely high draft pick, like a legitimately high, right now, this pick has to be within the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, or at least, fighting within the top 10. They're 3-7 right now. There's so many teams around that mark to where it's not safe, but let's say they are able to just lose a little bit more. Let's say they can get themselves even the 9th or 10th pick at best. You think maybe this is kind of what they needed to be able to add to this team, like you said, hopefully you get a highly touted offensive line prospect in this draft, or even I think the defensive line and secondary are also going to be areas in this draft, maybe not with the 9th or 10th overall pick, but just to be able to aim at with these high selections in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. This is a chance that the Bengals can add legitimate blue chip prospects back into this team, which, I mean, they've made some decent picks that we've liked. I was actually looking at their roster. They have a good few names that we have seen the last couple of years doing the mocks, but they just lack those real difference-making guys. And this down season could end up being a positive for them on the draft front.
Sure. Which of their first-round picks have worked out since Jamar Chase?
Well, Burrow was before Chase, so not
It was Burrow and Chase, and those are the last two first-round picks. And they had Daxton Hill. Is he still playing?
He is on the roster for sure.
Miles Murphy, Amarius Mims and Shamar Stewart.
Stewart, I haven't heard a peep out of him ever since they finally signed him.
Yeah, I mean,
Murphy's been a disappointment.
They drafted him 17th for sure, but like, do you trust them to bring in talent at this point?
No.
Honestly, in any phase of the ball, and in free agency, via trade, via anything, they have not been able to bring talent onto this roster. They've honestly only been losing talent. Yeah. I mean, Chase Brown has been okay in certain situations, but what has Chase Brown been?
Not great.
What of the offense that they traded for Orlando Brown at one point, and he was nothing there. He went somewhere else and he was okay. He was never what he was when he was on the Chiefs, or the Ravens. But
yeah, I was gonna say he really fell off after he had one good year with the Chiefs, and that's it.
Well, they won a Super Bowl, so you can't complain. But
yeah,
but I mean, realistically, they have not been able to bring in talent at all. At all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's their best free agent signing? What's his name from the Dolphins? The tight end.
Oh, Mike Gesicki.
Gesicki? And, I mean, he's been inconsistent at best. Like, they just have not been good at bringing in talent and capitalizing on the years that Joe Burrow has given them. They've just flat out failed.
Agreed. Agree. Like I don't disagree.
So I don't understand why having a better draft pick this year is going to help them. Maybe they have a better chance. There's a better chance to throw it at the dartboard, but realistically, that I don't believe in that regime and bringing in talent. I just don't.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I was more throwing out the suggestion rather than stating as a fact. But no, yeah, this Bengals team, it's a mess. It's a mess. I mean, I don't. If the Podfather was here on this segment, we know the top thing that he would say, which would be to fire Zach Taylor. Rick went on a bit of a firing spree in the group chat this past weekend for a myriad of reasons. Zach Taylor shockingly didn't come up, but if he was here right now, then he would definitely bring up Zach Taylor as a guy
firing a new person every week.
Every day. Every day it feels like the last couple of days, to say the least. So the Bengals, we're sorry, your goose is cooked. We can't even really project all that much for them because, yeah, like you said, Justin, it's whether it's just if they've been unable to develop some of these guys, if it's been bad luck, whatever the case has been, or if it's just plain missing on some guys, which I think you could probably make the argument for that as well, certainly. It's even with the draft picks, it hasn't been working out. And now this team, I don't even know what their cap situation is off the top of my head. Probably not a lot of cap space considering, where the money is at the moment. Now, guys we see this with every NFL team. I'm sure Chase and Burrow, probably Higgins, one of, if not two out of the three minimum, are going to do the thing. The news that we see at the start of the offseason, Justin, of so-and-so is going to convert this salary into signing bonus, free up this cap space. We know they're going to do that, so that'll help them a little bit. But it's not really going to do enough because then you need to trust.
Again, it's not about how much money they have. I don't think it matters how much money they have.
Well, technically, you need money to bring in new pieces.
No, of course. That's not what I'm saying. But like, even if they had the money, they've had plenty of free agent
misses. Which I was then about to say. Like, then the thing is like they can have the money, but then you need to trust and assume they're going to make. Because here's the thing, we can both agree. Even the two of us as armchair GMs that we like to play on the internet. Even us, we can admit every once in a while we say that we would have tried to go for a guy in free agency and that player just ends up failing. It's like, ooh, that didn't work out. We know that it's not as easy as it seems.
Of course.
Any idiot can throw money and say, let me just bring in X players. But it's about the smart deals that general managers make, right? Like you
level deals that make that win championships. It's nice and it's flashy and you bring in the top big name money guy and whatever, but like realistically, that guy's only going to get you so far. It's the trenches. It's the bench players. It's the guys that are going to give you quality minutes that when that guy is not available, how are you going to supplement? Those are usually the signings that you see, like those mid-level signings. You're like, damn, that guy got a lot of money. I hope that he plays well for them. It's more money than I expected. He didn't get a max contract, but it's something that, really brings that team forward.
Yeah, it's the nickelback that you brought in that is going to get a couple of interceptions because your main corners are doing their job. It's that interior defensive lineman that's going to make a key run stuffing play because you have the pass rushers around him to where he can focus on just that. And I think what we're ultimately saying is that we don't trust the Bengals to do any of this stuff ultimately, which sucks because you have all-world Hall of Fame caliber talents. When we bring back the Hall of Fame game in the future in one of these weeks when we need it, It's like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I weep for the two of their careers because those are two guys that are both Hall of Fame level talents. I would say that both of them, maybe not immediately. Well, Jamar Chase is probably closer than Burrow. Funny enough, it's like, if they retired at the end of the season or at the next year,
getting hurt maybe. But if you look at his per game averages and stuff like that, like
yeah,
he's there.
Yeah, the counting numbers are like there are really good campaigns, but like you said, now he's lost 3 seasons to season-ending injury or 4. It's 3 or 4.
Well, this isn't season-ending yet, and he came back at the end of last year too.
Right. So
he's lost a lot of time the last few years.
Yeah, to say the least. So we'll see. Cincy, good luck. That's all we can give you. Good luck. All right, Justin. Let's move on to a team that was in the postseason. In the AFC last year. We're just going to go in ascending order, not descending order. We're going ascending order here on the AFC side of things. This team is already starting to make their run here, but Justin, 5-5 right now, sitting as the 10th seed in the conference and just 1 game back of their division, which I think is the most crucial part for them compared to the 2 teams that are above them technically in the overall playoff standings right now. That would be the Baltimore Ravens. Man,
skipping Miami.
Oh, no, we were never going to talk about Miami. we don't care about Miami.
You might have to, because they won their last 2 games, and next they played the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, who knows if Rodgers is going to play, then the Bengals. They could very easily win their next 4 games, and all of a sudden, they're 8-7.
We will give them their due when they actually get it done.
Okay.
The way they've played this season, they don't deserve it.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. They've been disappointing, and I don't expect them to win all 4 games, but I think that it's something that needs to be mentioned. They could. This is very possible for them to go on a run here.
It is, and you're right. It should be mentioned. And it just was. So we get to move on to the teams
Baltimore,
huh? Yes, on to Baltimore, even though the ironically, the Bill Belichick coach quote was, "We're on Cincinnati." And he's on to the unemployment line probably by the end of this UNC football season. But the Baltimore Ravens are already starting off their run here, Justin. Man, things weren't looking great for them for the most part, right? They started out 1-5, not even just 1-4, 1-5. Dead to rights. Oh, it's not looking good. And even before Lamar Jackson came back, because remember, when a lot of people expected the Bears game to be the game where he would come back, they delayed it 1 more week. I don't know what it was. I don't know if maybe they were just that confident, but they basically said, no, we don't need Lamar back just yet. They waited. They brought him back for the Dolphins game, and even since before then, 4-game win streak for them. Has it always been clean? No. Easily, we know the best game he's had since his return was, ironically enough, that Miami Dolphins game where he had his best, arguably you can even say his best game of the season. 204 yards, 4 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. And it's basically just been a steady diet of him, efficient passing, and the team around him is doing the job. And the defense is starting to really round into form here for Baltimore. So, Justin, they won the AFC North last year. Yeah, they definitely did. They've won it for a couple of years in a row now. So the multiple time in a row AFC North champions, 5-5 right now. The Steelers, who currently lead the division, are 6-4. Justin, is there any reason not to have confidence in the Ravens to storm back right now in the season?
No, at this point, they're probably the favorites to win. Rodgers is going to miss at least a couple weeks. We don't know how long he's going to be with that fractured wrist. It does not need surgery. They said he will come back this season, but if he doesn't come back in 3 games, this season might be over for them anyways.
Right.
I don't know what the Steelers' schedule is, but the Ravens play the Jets this week at home, then the Bengals at home, then the Steelers at home.
Again, and for the context, let's say if they can speed run it, let's say they are able to somehow get Rodgers back. He goes and gets dolphin sonar noises onto his wrist to help him come back for that Ravens game, let's say, for that first one in Baltimore.
Dolphin sonar noises?
What happened?
That's the new treatment method for broken wrist, dolphin sonar.
Hey, with him, you never know. There's always alternative methods that Aaron Rodgers loves. But let's say he can somehow come back for that Ravens game in Baltimore here at the start of December. The 2 games that he would miss, if we assume it's only 2 more, would be in Chicago at the Bears and then at home against the Buffalo Bills, which I don't know if you know this. The Buffalo Bills offense is actually starting to, they woke up this past week. That we'll briefly mention once we get to this week's edition of the hashtag SAOC Pick Challenge, ladies and gentlemen. But no, yeah, it's you said it. The smart money, the betting odds, whatever you want to say, it would be in the Ravens' favor right now because, you mentioned it, like schedule is key, and right now the Ravens' schedule it's in their favor more than you would think it's in the Steelers' favor, of course.
Definitely. I mean, look, their next 4 games, depending on when Joe Burrow comes back, should be a cakewalk. They should have
Right.
9 wins by the time they get to the Patriots on December 21st. So the question is, can the Steelers keep up without a quarterback there? And if not, is there a way to catch up later in the year? They do play last week of the year, and I'm assuming, they expect Rodgers to be back, but let's say they lose to the Patriots and the Packers, and they're 9-6 going into, or 9-7 going into week 17, 18. Like, who cares? I'll take those any day if I was a Raven fan, especially starting at 1-5.
Oh yeah. No, and there was legitimate reason of, because even with the Lamar stuff, like ignore. It's a tough thing to ignore, because if we're being honest, it probably is the big thing. But ignore the fact that when Lamar did get hurt, he did miss a couple games. It was the fact that early in this season, the defense was getting cooked. There's no two ways about it. They very much hit a bit of a it wasn't too much of a in case of emergency break glass, but they got rid of Jair Alexander, right? A guy who we expected to contribute a little bit in that secondary. They definitely changed some things around just in terms of philosophy and scheming. And I mean, we saw early on in the season, the Bills put up 41 against them. The Lions put up 38. The Chiefs, that we all would have thought the Chiefs were down at that point. We thought the Ravens were going to walk into Arrowhead and beat them. Was the other way around. They turned it around. The Texans the next week just slaughtered them. And that was really that early bye week, relatively early bye week that the Ravens had, kind of did them a favor at the end of the day, because it helped allow for this situation to occur, the spot that they're in right now. So, but the blowout loss to the Texans. Rams game was close. Okay, pretty respectable. And then ever since then, only 16 to the Bears, only 6 points to the Dolphins, 19 points by the Vikings, Browns 16. A team hasn't scored over 20 on them since the start of October. That, I think, I don't want to say more so than Lamar, because obviously no Lamar Jackson, this run isn't happening right now. But maybe just as close to important as Lamar, Justin, it's the Ravens defense that's performing well.
Well, they play bad teams too. They've played teams.
You got to give them some credit. Like that.
Yeah, no, they're still professionals. They're still offensive teams. Guess what? Their defense is going to look real good again this week. We all know, but it's not like they were playing offensive juggernauts either. So that helps a little bit as well. The question is, there's so many avenues for them to make the playoffs at this point. They, unfortunately for them, lack some tiebreakers, but they take care of business. There's no reason why they should not be at least a wild card team.
Right. And right now at the moment, it almost feels like it's a not if but when they are firmly back into the postseason. Yeah. So you had mentioned that in the last week, in the Week 18 game, it's them against the Steelers. That game will be in Pittsburgh. I don't care what the name of the arena is. It's still Heinz Field to me. Dang it, Heinz Field, whatever the heck it's called now. Do you think, I'll ask this question for you, do you think that the Ravens could sew up the division by then with a game to spare?
The Steelers better hope they don't.
Right. If you're Pittsburgh, you don't want to be hearing
possible, but it depends on what the rest of the division does. You know what I mean? They need to they need to win. Yeah. If Pittsburgh loses 2 games and they win 4, it's possible.
Yeah. And like you said, funny enough, we started this talking about the Bengals. It really kind of almost boils down to the fact that if the Bengals, maybe not if, when Joe Burrow comes back, how much of an impact will that play in the Thanksgiving game? Because it'll be Ravens-Bengals on Thanksgiving, 8:20 p.m. And then just a couple weeks later, middle of December, it'll be in Cincinnati. This run after this Jets game here for the Ravens, as you were noting in their schedule, this 3 straight games facing your division, and then against the Patriots and the Packers, talk about tune-up games, are critical, to say the very least, in how the season could look. And like you said, could they ultimately surpass the Steelers? And right now, I mean, in division, they're 2-0 because they faced the Browns both times. So in terms of division, in terms of AFC, which they need to make up a lot of ground on the AFC side of things, just in terms of in-conference win-loss record. The Steelers are a pretty comfortable 5-2 in the AFC versus the Baltimore Ravens 3-3. Just listing and noting the tie-breaking potential of what it could end up going down to. Let's say even if the Steelers and Ravens split their games, then you have to look at the division record, the conference record, all that stuff. The Ravens are very much in the driver's seat right now to take back the division. Last thing about them, I'll give you last word on it before we move on to the next team, Justin. For the Ravens, it's been just the winning so far, but what, even with these wins, we know it's not been perfect. What do you need/want to see from them? Maybe not so much. I mean, I know you've been poking fun at it. Maybe you could say it involves this Jets game, but let's even skip to the Thanksgiving game. What do you want to see from the Ravens in the next two games to really like hunker down and continue their hot streak?
The Thanksgiving game is arguably more important because as nice as it's going to be for their fans to see them just stomp on the Jets, the other thing that we're not talking about is that they're 2-0 in their division, and they have what seems to be a light divisional schedule over that next 4 weeks. So if they end up being, 5-0 in their division, it's going to take a lot for Pittsburgh to catch up, especially if they lose some of those games without Rodgers.
Yeah. It's if you're the Steelers, the most important thing is like you need to hope that you could split the two games before you face Baltimore here. Again, we're assuming by some miracle Rodgers could come back for that Ravens game. I don't think that's what the prognosis is.
I think they said it's probably about 3 or 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah. Now, could he 2008 John Cena at the Royal Rumble? Like, maybe. You never know. I had to throw the reference in there. We already know. But
never know.
But ultimately, if the expectation is they're going to miss, he is going to miss at least 3. I think 3 is probably the safest number we could say. Like, whatever that record is after these 3 weeks.
3 weeks with a broken wrist, that's it? That's crazy. Especially at his age.
Yeah. Well,
it feels slower, isn't it?
It's also, well, yes. It's also the idea and the concept that Rodgers, if all signs were pointing to this not being his last season, then maybe they would say he would miss more time. But I wonder if part of it is the fact that he's not officially said it. I said officially 3 times because he always got to stamp it with this guy. Like, we don't for certain know this is the final year of his career until he outright says it. So maybe that could be a factor in it. We not saying this for certain. We don't know. We just don't. So it's worth saying. All right. I think we said everything about Baltimore to say. This next team, Justin, is interesting. 5-5. So tied with the Ravens. Spoiler alert, they're also tied with one other team for 5-5 that we'll talk about here. This team is the 9th seed in the AFC. They are 1-2 in their division. They are 2-4 in the conference. And while they have that tiebreaker over Baltimore, I would really be interested to see if they had to replay that game, how it would end up turning out. But this team, Justin, is so far out of the division, so far out of the well, not so far out of the postseason, but they're far out right now. The 9th seed in the AFC, 3-time Super Bowl champions since the start of this decade, Kansas City Chiefs.
Here's the tough thing about them. And it's not just the toughness of their schedule because they play the Colts, Cowboys, Chargers, Broncos again, and we'll see if Stroud comes back when they play the Texans.
Right.
A lot of time. They are 4 full games back from the Broncos without the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
That is a lot of ground to cover in, 7 weeks?
Yep.
So that's where the struggle is. If they're making the playoffs this year, they need to do it on the road, and they need to be, a wild card team, which is a position I don't think Mahomes has ever been in. I know he's played playoff games on the road, but he was never a wild card team.
Right. They've won the division with Andy Reid every year since I think it's been 2015, 2016 was the year. So like they've been running
in a row.
I think I'll double check that. Maybe I'm wrong, but like they've won the AFC West for a good while now.
Yeah, well, at least the last 5 years for sure. So it's going to be tough. Now, they don't have an easy schedule either. They play juggernauts in the Colts. That Texans team can be very good if Stroud is back, which we'll see. But and the Cowboys, got offense. We'll see which Cowboys team shows up because it seems to be different every week. But the Cowboys have a shot at really making their lives tough too. So that's 3 tough games in a row where they have to hope that the Broncos don't take care of business, which they pretty much have been as the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. So, their only hope is to catch the Jaguars.
Right. And hope that, because the Jaguars are currently the 7th seed in the AFC. They're the last of the 3 wildcard teams. And it's tough because that 6th seed, it's a team that already beat you. It's the Chargers, and then that 5th seed, it's a team that already beat you, and it's the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
It's not haven't done yourself favors here. And by the way, I just double checked it now. I was actually relatively right. Since the 2016 season, they've been winning the division. They've won the division since 2016.
5 times in a row. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's literally like you talk about them. You talk about it like with the Patriots. You talk about like, well, the Dolphins. Not necessarily with Marino the entire time because the Bills were also a great force. 4 straight Super Bowls and all that jazz. But like. That's the level of regular season success the team has had over the last decade, and it's completely unraveling. There's not just one quick fix that we could say about this team because early on it was the defense, and you were able to attack this defense with the kind of early season performances we were seeing from some quarterbacks against the Chiefs were phenomenal, right? Like Justin Herbert carved up this team.
Their strong suit was for the last 3 years was that their defense was so young and so fast and so good that it was hard to. Like people talk about Mahomes this, Mahomes that. That was a defensive team. They were strong on defense the last 3 Super Bowls. And that's really what got them there. It hasn't been the same. And you've seen Mahomes pick it up a little bit now that he's got to, be that guy. Like you saw him, he was starting to get those like, oh, he's overrated. He doesn't do so much, but he didn't need to do so much. He did what he needed to do to win games. And anything more than that, then he's trying to do too much. That's how quarterbacks lose games. Now you're seeing, well, all right, defense isn't what we thought it was going to be. Maybe I need to have some, extra Mahomes magic. And sometimes it works. But like you saw last week, sometimes it doesn't. And they need to figure out how they're going to sneak in the playoffs because they do not want to be on the outside looking in.
Definitely not, to say the very least. And they are in such a disadvantageous position to where, like, right now, dang near every tiebreaker is going against them except the one that they have over the Ravens. And the Ravens' schedule is easier to the point where you got to believe the Ravens could surpass them in wins. It also doesn't matter because the Ravens are also probably going to win the division. But like you just look at it, and some of the games this team has lost. It's like that season opener against the Chargers where Justin Herbert was able to carve them up. That game against the Jaguars where you really have to look at it and be like, dang, like you lost that game of all games. That game right now, truth be told, is the difference between them being the 7th seed. They could be the 7th seed right now versus being the 9th seed. Like that game is the ultimate difference in their standings right now. Like that tough one. They end up ripping off the 3 straight wins after that rough Jacksonville loss, but then the back-to-back losses against. And this is the thing that I feel like it's been focused on more here in recent years. Maybe fans just didn't. It wasn't as like honed in on in the past, but you lose 2 conference games the last 2 weeks, and one of them was a division game. That's the tough one against the Broncos, who like you said, it would take a fall off biblical proportion, like sports biblical proportions for the Broncos to lose it to the Chiefs. To the Chargers, I don't know if they necessarily would, but the Chargers have a better chance mathematically at the moment to somehow take the division away from the Broncos than the Chiefs do. But yeah, it's like you said, it's the defense. Like Mahomes was like that offense was starting to hum and haw a little bit, especially the return of why am I forgetting old buddy's name? Their star wide receiver. Why am I forgetting his name? Texas kid. Help me. Travis Kelce took him out in the season opener. So, some would say deliberately. I'm not saying that, but some would say deliberately. Xavier Worthy.
There you go.
But I was going to get there eventually. But like Xavier Worthy being back into things. Travis Kelce at times this season has actually looked like a little bit of the old him. What's the
more receivers? The more receivers they get back, the better Travis Kelce looks.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then the more they can perform, the more it helps him. So if you need a combination of everything, it's not just one thing with this team right now. It's the defense, like you had mentioned. They need to, sharpen up in this prime form we've seen them in for years now, especially since the start of this decade. They need to start making big plays, right? Like they need to start getting a couple takeaways. They need to start ending plays on third down. They need to, even aside from that, Justin, they need to make it where a team isn't getting a 7 or 8 yard play on first down, where you can make them go back on second down if it is second down and 5 or second down and 4, right? Like those little plays that add up will help you throughout the game. And this is a Steve Spagnuolo unit, what we talked about in the past. We know Rick has sung his praises, saying that he is a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, and the work he's done in Kansas City, can't necessarily disagree with that. But this is put up or shut up time. It's like the Chiefs defense needs to perform. And while it has been better than it was early, it's been rough the last couple games. Like Mahomes just needs to be Mahomes, and we've seen him throughout his career. We've seen him be at his peak, and there's a lot of chatter about him right now. And if you are the guy that we don't need to say we think you are, we know who you are. We know you can be that guy. Just got to do a little bit more of that, like you said. And it doesn't necessarily need to be him carrying everything, but just do what we expect of you in terms of making, like, he can make the exciting plays, but he makes the smart plays even, right? Like as you mentioned, though, he's been doing that more the last couple of years. Doesn't have to go for broke on every single play. Make all the smart plays, make the smart reads, make the smart decisions, continue to do that. This offensive line is still relatively good, right? Like unless I'm forgetting someone going down, the offensive line is still relatively good.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah, like it's just a case of bad play right now, but it could all turn around. It legitimately can. And it would be a statement if they could turn that around starting this week, because they're at home in Arrowhead, but they are facing a team that is third in the AFC. They were the top seed for a while, but now are currently the third seed in the AFC in the Indianapolis Colts, who are comfortably leading that AFC South, Justin. They have a good little margin. They're up by 2 games on the Jags right now. They have more conference wins than division wins over the Jaguars. So they have a little bit to play with. But the Jaguars are not the only AFC South team, to say the very least, that's trying to make something of the rest of their season. Are we done with Kansas City, by the way? Do you have any final notes to say about them?
No, I think we covered it.
No? All right, good. And we know the fans right now across the NFL nation are extremely happy to see the Chiefs suffering as they have been. But right now, the last team that we're going to talk about here, the last team on the outside looking in. So the Ravens and the Chiefs, of course, they were 2 of the 3 teams that made the postseason last year that are looking out right now. This is the last of those 3 AFC teams. Justin, the 5-5, 8th seed. Yes, they are above the Chiefs in the standings, and they are winning this tiebreaker based on best win percentage in conference games. It's those conference games, ladies and gentlemen, that get you. And they also have a head-to-head victory over the Baltimore Ravens. And it'd be 3-1 in division. That's somewhat surprising that they're 3-1. 5-5 on the season. 8th seeded Houston Texans. And the fact that their season is still alive is a testament to the comeback victory that they had a couple weeks ago, Justin. 3-5 in Houston against the Jags. The Jags had a solid 20-3 lead, even up 29-10 late in essentially to start the fourth quarter. They were the Jags had them dead to rights. The game should have been over. It should have been clinical from there. It should have been a Jaguars victory. And that should have spelled doom and gloom for the Texans, who were without C.J. Stroud. I think that was the first full game that Davis Mills played, because I think Stroud had gotten injured the week prior. I think the week prior in the Broncos game, if I'm not mistaken. So starting the backup, they're starting the backup quarterback. Everything looks like it's going to go away from them, but they come back. General Davis Mills, Justin. They have a torrid fourth quarter. They get the comeback win. They defeat the Jaguars. Ironic, considering who's just above them right now is the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a close nail biter. I stayed away from it for a reason. I felt it was a little bit of a trap game. It was a close game, but the Texans ultimately had just enough to defeat the Tennessee Titans in this past weekend. They defeat them 16-13. They get to 5-5. But you just made note of it a couple moments ago, I think, when we were talking about not the Chiefs portion. I think maybe you mentioned it towards the end when we were discussing the Ravens. But the Houston Texans right now are without their franchise quarterback. C.J. Stroud is out right now, and the only thing they can do is kind of what we just talked about the Steelers doing with Rodgers. They need to somehow hold up the ship without much water until the captain gets back. So, Justin, the Houston Texans and everything that is on the line for them, can they claw their way back into the playoff positioning? And just for context, I'll give it to you. I'll just give you their next 4 games just for it. At home against the Bills, in Indy 10 days later to face the Colts, then at Arrowhead in the first week of December for a game against the Chiefs, and then at home against the Arizona Cardinals. I nearly said against the Houston Texans, but they are the Houston Texans, unless we have a Spider-Man team. So those are their next 4 games for context. So, Justin, what do you make of their odds to make it back into the postseason picture?
I think their odds hinge on the return of their young star quarterback, and C.J. Stroud. Look, Davis Mills has done exactly what you needed him to do. He went 2-2. Unfortunately, they were not able to get Stroud back in time for an early Thursday night game this week. But realistically, they're not going to beat the Bills. If C.J. Stroud doesn't come back, I mean, even if he does come back, what are the odds that they beat the Colts in Indy? You know what I mean? What are the odds they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead? Like, they're third in their division. All these other teams got to do is take care of business. I'm not betting against the Colts in any games. I'm not saying that they're like this unbeatable juggernaut, but they have been an excellent team. Jonathan Taylor might be the best player in the NFL today. Like, they are absolutely killing it right now. And I just don't see a path for the Texans, even as the first team on the outside looking in. Their schedule is so hard, and they do not have, realistically, they don't even have their starting running back in Joe Mixon, who maybe never play again. I don't know what's going on with him.
At least not for them.
Yeah.
It's not looking great.
So it's a bleak outlook, I would say, which is weird considering we kind of had the best outlook on team number, what was it, 10?
10th seed Ravens, 9th seed Chiefs, 8th seed Texans. It's very much the same. Yeah.
I would say that the odds are not favorable for the Texans. But again, it can all change in the blink of an eye. If they get CJ Stroud back, all of a sudden they're able to win any game with that kind of quarterback play. It's not like Davis Mills has played bad, but they're not really scoring all that many points. He had one really good scoring game against the Jaguars, but it all happened in the fourth quarter. It was very inconsistent of a game for him. And now they have to play some real strong teams. And they are, again, playing from behind as the third best team in their division right now. So, you got to pull for them. Hopefully that they can really pull it out, and maybe hopefully CJ Stroud comes back healthy. But I'm not putting any betting odds on them. Yeah,
right. Like, truthfully, the only way you could say they have a legitimate chance is if they somehow get an upset win this upcoming Thursday against the Bills. That would be the only way. You would need to hope that Mills has a more consistent game. You need to hope that this defense has the game of its life against Buffalo.
Depends on what Bills team shows up, to be completely honest.
Ain't that the truth? Because it's the Bills have been a bit of an oddball, to say the very least. One weekend they struggle against the Dolphins and barely put up any points, and the next weekend they put up 40+ points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's that. Along with missing CJ Stroud, it's also worth noting the Texans are missing Jalen Petrie as well for this game. He's also been out with a concussion the last couple games as well. And like you said, Stroud and Petrie, well, I did see Stroud is going to start lightly returning to practice. Like you said, it's not going to be in time. He's not going to be able to play on this Thursday.
They already ruled him out this week.
Right. So it's essentially hoping he can return that next week. And then you could just go from there. And that, again, like, to me, I don't see – I think of the – not counting the Bengals. Of the three teams we've discussed, I think we agree, like, it's ironically you flip it in the order they're in the standings right now, where it's Texans, Chiefs, Ravens. You flip that 8th and 10th, and we give the Ravens the best chance, the Chiefs in the middle, and the Texans have the worst. Because we know for sure Mahomes, like, he can pull out some games here, 100%. You have Davis Mills right now, and even when CJ Stroud does get back, I think he was starting to look a little bit better before the injury struck him, but it's not been the smoothest third-year campaign for him, to say the very least. It's been tough times. It's a combination of things. It is the offensive line, which they didn't really do a lot in the offseason to really help with, and it's clearly shown. Yeah, exactly. It somehow got worse on paper, which is saying a lot because they weren't that good last year. They ended up getting worse. He was starting to overcome that here and there, but then the injury just struck him down, and then it's just tough from there. It literally the only thing, I hate to say only, but aside from, of course, you need your offensive performance, so you'll need Davis Mills, but you need this defense, which, for like, just for the context, Justin, since we were bringing up before, this Texans defense, it's the best defense in the AFC. They have the least points allowed in the AFC. They have a pretty good point differential, all things considered, as well. Like, they have the points against and the point differential to be up there with playoff teams. Which makes sense. They're the AFC. They're literally on the outside looking in. And yet there's not a lot of faith in them right now. And we know why. It's the defense. Will they have probably a bad game or two here and there because they're about to face the Colts and the Bills? I think it's relatively fair to say. They might struggle a little bit against those high-octane potential teams. But this ultimately shoulders on the offense. And can the offense do the job in the next couple of weeks? That's what your season relies on. You need to rely on General Davis to continue to carry this baton and then pass it right to CJ Stroud. We know he's not going to hand off that baton to Joe Mixon, like you said, because you're missing him out. So It's tough, and it's been a pretty injury-riddled campaign for the Texans. Again, they were a relative favorite to win the AFC South. I almost said the title. I had to be more specific there. They were a relative favorite to win the AFC South coming into the season. It's not looking great right now, and they'll be lucky to get a wild card. Lucky to get a wild card, to say the very least. So, tough times for some of these teams in the AFC, but that should hopefully mean we get some pretty good football. That's what you hope for. That's what you hope for. So, any final notes to say about the Texans before we move on here?
Hopefully CJ Stroud comes back. That's all you can say.
Yeah. Yep. Do you see, before we move on to the NFC here, Justin, if you had to put a percentage, I'm not going to ask you to put a bet on it because that's been a little bit sticky in the sports world in case you haven't been privy to that, but we're not athletes, thankfully. If you had to put like a percentage on it, what do you think the odds are that they could pull off an upset against the Bills?
Higher than people would give them credit for.
Okay.
But listen, I'm not betting on it.
Right.
But I think they have a better shot than people think. That defense is nasty, and the Bills have struggled against teams that can play defense.
Right. Yeah, and they need, if there's any, because we were complimenting this Texans defense earlier in the season, right? Like they were just phenomenal with the point totals. They were like, if we're being honest, maybe not the worst, but one of the less highlight-filled games that Matthew Stafford played this season was against that Texans defense. Like, that's saying a lot. Yeah. Like, this Texans defense has played really well throughout the season. The result of the season is going to hinge on them. I hate to say that because they're honestly probably the reason they're 5-5 right now. But
it's interesting to think that of the 4 teams that we mentioned, 3 teams have dealt with legitimate quarterback injury throughout this year. And one of them is still dealing with it 2 of them technically, but the one we're talking about right now that's still dealing with it is the Houston Texans. And it's unfortunate because with CJ Stroud, I think that they would have a much better chance to beat the Bills right now. But I would say I'm 80% on the Bills probably to win this game.
Right.
We'll see what Bills team shows up because they did lose to the Dolphins.
Yeah, a tough loss. And it was in Miami. I believe this game is in Houston, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll go to that. All right, Justin, let's shift to the NFC side of things and the NFC outsiders that are looking in to the postseason and what do we think their odds are. Let's go in descending order. We'll start from the top and then go down because I think it'll be fun that way. The first of the 4 teams in the NFC, 3 of them, of course, being from the postseason last year. The 8th seed in the NFC, 6-4. They were just leading the division like a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And now they're outside the postseason picture right now. The 6-4 Detroit Lions. What a season it's been for them, to say the very least. Justin, I think most people are going to hear this and be like, it's relatively circumstantial. It's this, that, and the third. A lot of people would believe and bet strongly that it would be the Lions. The Lions are going to make the NFC playoffs once again at the end of the day. Do you think that confidence is well earned? Do you think like this Eagles game, it's look to what the Packers game was early in the season? Yeah, they got figured out, but they'll be able to bounce back. Or are there some underlying concerns Detroit has to be worried about here?
Well, I'm certainly concerned about the offense. They just have not looked as good since Ben Johnson's left. That being said, I expect them to look a little bit better this week against a paltry Giants defense. But then their schedule, it tightens up again. You know what I mean? They play, let's see.
I have the schedule up here as well. So they face the Giants this week in Detroit. This is a nice little
2 teams left with a losing record, and one of them is the Cowboys, who are 4-5-1,
right,
and realistically could probably win this week.
Yeah. And in a couple weeks' time, because I mean, if you do have to give the Lions a little bit of advantage for them,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you have to give them a little bit of advantage, the next 3 games and 4 of the next 5 are at home, so they have a chance here for a little bit of home cooking potentially to be in their favor. But they face the Giants this week. The big game to me is the Thanksgiving Day game. Like you were just mentioning it for the Ravens, right? How hey, you have the Jets, boom, but the critical game will be that Bengals game on Thanksgiving. I almost want to argue, funny it's the cat teams, but Justin, you can almost kind of say it mirrors here in the NFC side of things. Like they face the Giants this week. Now you can't overlook them. You need every win you get, especially because I believe you have, if you look at it, the Lions have the worst conference record of the teams in the top 8. Like they're only 3-3 in the NFC. Every other team above them either has significantly more wins, or in the case of the Rams, they're 3-2 in conference, but they've won so many other games aside from that it gives them a couple extra wins. So if you're Detroit, you can't overlook this game. You do need to get the win. But against Green Bay in Detroit on Thanksgiving, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but that's kind of the game for your season, no?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's for your season, but it's an important game for sure. I mean, it definitely puts them back into the divisional race. Even if the Packers aren't the number one team in their division right now, because the Bears are somehow 7-3.
Right.
They are. If they want to have a shot at winning the division, they need to win that game.
Yeah.
Because they need to keep the Packers in lockstep, and they need to hope that the Bears be the Bears at least once or twice in the next couple of weeks.
Which very much can happen.
Yeah, well, they play the Eagles and the Packers also over the next 3 weeks. So, in theory, they have a shot. But, I mean, it's also Green Bay's two teams ahead of them in the wild card race. You know what I mean? Green Bay's the 6th seed. So, if they want to win, if they want to win a wild card spot, they got to start taking out some of the teams in front of them. And that is the perfect opportunity.
Yep. Especially because right now the Packers, they've only played the one division game, and it was beating the Lions early in the season. So it's going to be interesting to say the very least. Thanks.
A close game, too.
You got to give the NFL credit. They really set up a very interesting Thanksgiving Day games this year. Well, at least
the night game's not so great.
Yeah. You can never get the full hat trick of games on Thanksgiving. You get a brace at best. All right, let's move on here. Ironically, just into the team we're alluding to here on for that other Thanksgiving game. We are going to skip the Carolina Panthers here because we have the specific teams that we outlined. But I will say, Justin, all this time later, like Thanos in Infinity War, they called us madmen. But we gotta give it another week. But maybe, just maybe, the Carolina Panthers might be something.
Well, I expect them to be 6-6, 6-7, and then maybe they can come back a little bit. But they have a tough road ahead of them too. They got the Bucks twice. They got the Seahawks. They got the Rams. They got the Niners. They have one team with a losing record left on their schedule. It's not going to be easy for them. It's definitely an uphill climb.
But as they say, Justin, diamonds are made under pressure. And is a diamond finally forming for Bryce Young? In Bryce Young. Whatever you want to – come on.
In Bryce Young. Anyways, the Cowboys.
Is he underneath the coal of performances that we've gotten from him in his 2.5 seasons of being an NFL quarterback? Is there a diamond there after all?
I don't know about that, but I think that he is a better quarterback than we have seen so far.
I mean, he literally just had the best game of his career this past week.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't want to take any credit away from him, but, there's still a lot left to be desired from this team.
Fair. All right, move on. The actual second team we're going to be discussing, this is the only of the 4 teams on the NFC side that didn't make the postseason last year, but we need to mention them because it feels like every podcast has to mention them at some point. And we do a pretty good job at the only other reference they get is a honorary spot on the rant podium on a weekly basis. The Dallas Cowboys, 4-5-1, 2-4-1 in their conference, 2-1 in their division. CeeDee Lamb missed a little bit of time. Dak Prescott struggled a little bit. Well, it was very inconsistent early in the season, relatively speaking. The defense was hell in a handbasket when it comes to them trying to guard anything. Of course, they've dealt with injuries on that side of things as well. But 4-5-1, 10th in the NFC. It's kind of a long shot, but they sort of kind of have a chance. I don't really know much of a chance actually.
That's what it is. It's the tie that really gives them the advantage here. The back half is certainly easier than the front half, but if they can pull out a win against one of those strong teams, like the Chiefs or like the Lions or like the Chargers, then they do have a real legitimate shot at being a 500 team. And being 500 might just be good enough for them to make the playoffs. It depends on what happens in front of them, obviously. But I'm not counting out that offense. I mean, you saw what they did to the Raiders. I know they're the Raiders, but that's a good offense. You know what I mean? Yeah. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens is a devastating combination. Javonte Williams is much better than most people expected him to be. And that offensive line is holding up better than we thought it would. The addition of Quinnen Williams, I think, was a huge move for them. So they have some flexibility here. They are still missing pieces on defense. They do still have some issues with the secondary, but they are a much better run stuffing team than they were 2 weeks ago. And that can make all the difference on a defense like theirs.
Yeah, no, true. If they can swindle an upset victory against the Eagles this upcoming week, they might have a chance to actually make some real noise. And as you mentioned, like this offense, at the start of the season against Philly, notwithstanding, like they put up 40 points against the Giants. This is like they start out the season so helter-skelter on the offensive side of things because then they only put up 14 against the Bears, but then 40 against the Packers, 37 against the Jets, 27 against the Panthers. But this is where the defense failed them because Rico Dowdle said revenge game. But then 44 points against the Commanders. 24 points against the Broncos defense is actually not the worst thing in the world, but once again, their defense absolutely got smoked. Bo Nix and crew ran all over them. Cardinals game was rough. Like that's the biggest one. And as Podfather's, the Cardinals game, like that's the definition of one where it's like that's yeah. And then because 5-4-1 right now, they would be very much more significantly in like the conversation to actually pull something out. So we'll see. But no, like you said, it's like if they do have any legitimate shot at a wild card spot, it's the offense is going to carry them there, and they just need like 2-3 like really good. Like I'm really really good. Their defense is, if they play average at best the rest of the way, it actually gives them a shot because they've been below average.
Average at best, they still need some upsets though because their schedule isn't super easy. Like I said, the Chargers, Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Lions. They need to have some upset victories in there.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying for the span of the 7 games, it'll probably be average at best. But you just need the defense to pull off like with these crazy 1 or 2 games where they just are absolutely like, interceptions, big third down stoppages, all that kind of stuff. Need that in this Eagles game. I think if the Eagles just beat them down, we could kind of like close the book on them this season. But if they can get an upset win against the Eagles, I think they're in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Hold on, I just took it down. They are in Dallas.
So if they can get a big upset win at home against a division rival, against the current top team in the conference right now, confidence boost for you, confidence boost for that defense. Confidence can carry you, even if on paper you're maybe not the best. And really it's a big thing for Dallas because, of course, the recent tragedy that befell them because of what happened with Marshawn Nealon and the tragedy that is.
That's a sad story.
A sad story indeed. And those guys are going to be playing hard in his honor. You get a win like that, combined with everything that they've gone through this season, both on and off the field, like this could be the engine's revving for them, to say the very least. So Dallas, have a game. If you have a big first game here starting this week, it could carry you to something. I don't really have a lot of faith in this next team, or either of these last two, if we're being honest. Justin, 11th seed in the conference. They made the postseason last year as a wild card team, which is crazy because they were like a 14-win team last year. You know them. I don't know if you love them. The 4-6 Minnesota Vikings. What is there to say about them? JJ McCarthy went down early. Carson Wentz did the best he could, but then it was clear like they were clearly like just did not care about his health because of how he was playing towards the end of the season or end of his season, not the season, end of his season. And they were playing him hurt.
Clearly,
McCarthy, first game back, I think he once again did some good stuff, I think, in the fourth quarter of that Lions game, but then just back-to-back games, tough throws, missed opportunities against the likes of the Ravens at home and the Bears at home, so both those games at home. Now going into a big-time game in Lambeau Field, and really 2 rough road games coming ahead for the Vikings in Lambeau and then in Seattle against the 12th man. They can very much be 4-8 come the start of December, and I think that, not mathematically, but that could kind of chalk up their season compared to the teams ahead of them. I don't know, Justin, what needs to break this team's way? Do they have a shot in any way, you think? Or is this, like, I know we tend to be like, oh, well, there's technically a chance, but if we're being honest here, do the Vikings have any chance of making a second half run?
I would say not with the way that they're playing at quarterback. I mean, JJ McCarthy has struggled, especially since in the game or two that he's been back. I mean, he's got, in 5 games, he's got less than 1,000 yards. He's got 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He's been sacked 15 times. And I understand that maybe he's running for his life, and the offensive line hasn't really had any continuity because their quarterback has changed quite a bit. But they have not had really any quarterback play at all. I mean, they are struggling, and their receivers are struggling for it. You know what I mean? And their run game is struggling for it. So, what do they do? Where do they go from here? I'm not really sure. But I just don't believe in them as a team, especially with this young kid at quarterback just yet. I mean, maybe he changes and gets better as things go, but it's looking like they maybe should have kept Sam Darnold.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't going to bring that up, but what is your take on that matter here, Justin? Maybe if you want to save it for the next edition that you do of All Gas No Breaks to officially state it, but what do you make of that discussion point that's been going on? Realistically, probably since McCarthy has had these struggles. Like hindsight 2020, should just paid Sam Darnold out for at least a year or two.
Well, Sam Darnold has more passing yards than the both of them combined.
Very
He's
true.
got he's got 17 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. It's not ideal, but he's having a very good game, good year. And would they have been better with a little bit more consistency at the quarterback position? Probably. You can't tell me that Sam Darnold would have stayed healthy necessarily, taking all those hits the same way that those two quarterbacks have gotten hurt. So it depends. It's hard to say for sure that they would have been a better team with Sam Darnold, but it's certainly looking like they miss that consistent and strong quarterback play that he did for them last year.
Yeah, to say the very least. So, RIP Minnesota. No, I mean, you just need your first round pick of a quarterback to play like a first round pick here to end the season. I don't think they're going to make a run here at the wild card. I think for the most part, I think it's from Dallas up is where the NFC playoff picture leads to right now. And if you're on the outside of that at this moment, I think you are relatively spoken for in terms of where your season's going to end. You just got to hope that JJ McCarthy can play some better football here to end out the season. Like you said, like just, tough, bad throws he's made, kind of misreading things. He hasn't had a game over 60% completion percentage since that first game of the season against the Bears on Monday Night Football. So you need to start having him just play better first and foremost. Like the defense has actually been relatively fine and respectable. This is yet another year of this Vikings defense, despite the fact that on paper there just isn't much there to look at. They are still playing like a pretty good, respectable unit. I'll give them credit for that. That defense knows how to do something. Brian Flores knows how to do something there clearly. But it's the signal caller. And the decision made to not keep Sam Darnold, it's not looking great right now. But so you just need JJ McCarthy to play well the rest of the season. Whatever Kevin O'Connell can do for him, whatever he can scheme up, and hope that he just understands and can execute at the end of the day. Because, like, truthfully, let's be honest here. Like, we've seen Kevin O'Connell now do it with multiple quarterbacks. JJ's performing the worst of them all. Worst in terms of, like, the ones that you actually – I mean, he's honestly probably doing worse than what Josh Dobbs was doing. Like, what, 2 years ago? Right? That was the Josh Dobbs run 2 years ago. So,
like that.
Yeah, that's what a magical time the Pastronaut was. But tough in Minnesota. Going to miss out on the season. If you just go from there, you hope that McCarthy just plays better in the second half of the season and just had some depth to this team, right? Like there's a good amount of talented players on this squad. They just need depth. Like there's always at least one or two injuries a season that really just hamper them. Ironically, it was partially the quarterback on this one, but it was also the play level of the quarterback here. But just continue to try to add around this team because it's a quarterback on a rookie contract. The Vikings could end up being a decent player in the offseason. Maybe they'll make like a semi-significant move. So that's the way I see it. All right. Last team that we're going to discuss here today, Justin. So relatively speaking, I think the team that we're the most confident in of the 7 we've reviewed so far, I'd say the 2 we're the most confident in are the Lions and the Ravens. I think we both believe that relatively speaking, they can make it back well into the postseason picture. So we're at minimum 2 for 7. If you want to include the Chiefs, let's say 3 for 7. I think we're going to finish 3 for 8, which ironically is this team's record right now. Not 3 for 8, but 3 and 8. Last season's Cinderella postseason run to the NFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback, the Washington Commanders. Tough times for them, to say the very least, this season. Jaden Daniels has been hurt. The rushing attack has not necessarily been what we would have expected it to be. The offensive line, the skill position players, up and down. The defense, old. To say the very least.
We're going to talk about a Jaden Daniels-less Washington Commanders team over the Carolina Panthers, who are 6-5.
Remember, it was postseason teams from last season that are on the outside.
Yeah,
Technically,
the
the
Bears,
Commanders
they're
made
not
it.
gonna make the playoffs.
Well,
Uh,
there it is. There. So you're confirming for the people the Commanders are not going to rip
without
off 6 wins in a row.
Daniels, they got no shot. Yeah, they're gonna be the Broncos this week without their star quarterback. That's definitely what's gonna happen.
I was gonna say because Daniels is still set to be out, right?
Yeah, he dislocated his elbow. He broke his arm. He's gonna be out for a while.
Probably the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Probably. So no faith in Marcus Mariota, which
I
truth be
have
told,
no
nobody
faith in
does.
Marcus Mariota to beat the Denver Broncos this week. They will officially be eliminated from having a winning record this week. And if I'm not mistaken, let's just look at the playoff run. If they lose and the San Francisco 49ers beat the Panthers at home in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be eliminated.
Oh,
Yeah, because the
there it is.
Niners will be
8-4.
4, and I'm sorry, they'll be one game away from being eliminated.
Well,
Man.
actually,
It depends on the tiebreakers because in theory, the Niners will have the tiebreaker against them.
yeah, I was gonna say because if they win this next one, the Niners will have 8 conference wins. The Commanders would fall to 1-7 in the conference. No, they're facing an AFC team. So, I mean, I think your math somewhat checks out. If they're not fully mathematically eliminated, we know it's not happening.
Did they play this year?
The Commanders and the Niners? No.
It'll depend on the tiebreakers, but in theory, they will not be able to have a better record than the 49ers. And the 49ers and all the teams in front of them would have to lose all of their games, and the Commanders would have to win all of their games for them to have a chance at the tiebreaker with the 7th seed. Okay, so they're basically eliminated after they lose this week.
So that being said, this is their eulogy / postmortem. What went wrong for the Commanders this season, and what do they need to fix for 2026?
A lot went wrong. Unfortunately for them, I think trading Brian Robinson did not help them, especially when Austin Eckler went down.
Yeah.
That hurt their run game as a run-first team. It didn't help that their offensive line could not protect Jaden Daniels. Not that it's necessarily 100% their fault, because I do think that part of the issue is that he's a running quarterback that takes a lot of hits. Yeah. As a young kid, it's hard to get out of that mindset, especially when you've been able to avoid all those hits all your life. Now you're at the top of the food chain, and these guys know how to get you.
Yeah, so, he quickly learned how fast other players can also be. He's not the only fast one out there.
He's missed lots and lots of time this year because of the hits he's taken. He's going to miss realistically the rest of the season because of a hit he took. Again, freak accident. You can't blame anyone for that hit, but it is what happens when you take hits. So we'll see what happens next year when he comes back. But this is not a team that's making the playoffs this year. This is what we'll call a sophomore slump, hopefully, for Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. And it's back to the drawing board for a couple of months.
Well, very much back to it, because like even with the Jaden Daniels injury, obviously like we could say that's lockstep the number one thing. Like when your franchise quarterback is not going to be available, you're not going to be able to win football games. But just everything else around that, like you mentioned, maybe the running back situation, like you said, with the trading of Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler being hurt, it just ultimately like you want to talk about the cards not falling in your favor. But even when Jaden Daniels was there, while his stats on paper look good, it still looked like what he was trying to do. I would almost kind of compare it to an extent. I feel like the best example I could give is that early in Lamar's career, right? Like it felt like he was just winning off of pure talent alone, which I mean, he's talented. That's not necessarily negative, but it felt like this season, even in the time we got to see him play, Jaden Daniels was still playing at a good level, but he wasn't playing at a great or an elite level. So, whereas I think
he struggles, but he also there were a lot of other injuries on that team too. Like we said, Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin missed a lot of time, which is a hindrance when you're missing your number one receiver.
Yeah,
Debo played well, but he also missed some games. Kratzky Merritt played okay at certain times, but has not been what they had hoped he'd be. Outside of the rushing attack that they were using as a three-headed monster, so it's difficult to judge McLaurin Daniels on such an injury-shortened season without his top guys. But that being said, the defense does not look great. The offense does not look great. They had some decent times, but how could you even to them, has to be a throwaway season, at least on offense.
Oh no, it has to be. Like you don't have a choice of it being to what I'm saying. This was on paper. I forget where they were. Maybe overall, maybe it was specifically the defense. This was one of the older teams in the league, which is kind of crazy to think about because when you think of this team, you think of the youth of Jaden Daniels and the franchise quarterback. You think of the fact that okay, yes, the veteran Austin Eckler was there, but you're hoping for Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt to have like a bit of a breakout campaign. McLaurin is a little bit on the older-ish side, but you could maybe argue he has. I don't know about this season. You kind of have to throw it away. Maybe 1 to 2 really good years of production left. Like this was a team that all
28 though, isn't he?
Huh?
Isn't he only like 28?
I mean, you've told me receivers fall off at the age of 30, so I don't know. You tell me. Exactly. I caught you on that one. But you look at this team on paper, they were relatively old going into the season, and you have this completely step back year. Like you kind of have to, like, from last year to this year. They made some changes. Of course, they made a couple moves in the offseason, right? The Laremy Tunsil trade. Like, they did make additions to the team, but they didn't get younger. It almost feels like if this team is going to improve, they have to get younger. Like, I don't know if a veteran old defensive back and linebacking core clearly not helping you this season, so it's not going to help you next year either. Like, you need to get younger on the defensive side of things. You need to, in what game film you have with Daniels out there, you need to make the determination of, even not necessarily with Daniels out there, of course, like he still needs to perform well the rest of the season. Like is Laremy Tunsil still going to be the expectation of him, which is being that left tackle for you that you traded a good amount of assets for you? I don't remember if the first round pick was involved in the trade for him. But it was more so just like it was a number of picks. It was like 4 or 5 draft picks in total that you sent out for him. If Deebo Samuel, I forget what his contract status is. If maybe he's entering either the last year, if this was already his last year, do you bring him back and how does bringing him back look? But again, this is another guy. He's very close to Scary Terry here in age. Like the roster decisions this team needs to make, they kind of need to. You can't bring this team back, obviously. You can't bring this team back. So the Commanders are going to be a wildly different team, I think, this time next year. Like there's going to be a good amount of players that get shifted out of this team because the expectation, the demand is you have Jaden Daniels, who if, let's say he is going to be healthy next year, we would hope just for his sake because he is a young, talented quarterback, that's what needs to happen for this team. Like next to Daniels' health, it's you need to change this roster where maybe hindsight is always 2020. Hindsight wins at the end of the day. But maybe hindsight 2020 shouldn't have been as high on the Commanders as we all thought, as most of us thought coming into the season. That's the key. But I mean, at the end of the day, hindsight always wins.
Of course.
But okay, clearly we don't have faith in the Commanders, and it's more so looking on to next year and what they have to do. Which again, it's I think kind of what you're mentioning. Maybe a lot of the offense it's more down to luck, and if even who on the offensive line got hurt for them this season too? It was Cosme, right? He had it.
I honestly don't remember.
It was him or one of the guards that ended up getting hurt, and so that doesn't help your case either when your offensive line that you were having high expectations for gets hurt. Like I think for the offense, it's obviously injury luck. It's for the defense. We've already set the plan. You need to get younger. You need more. You were saying this, Justin, in the Chiefs. We're not comparing them to the Chiefs in terms of what they will achieve, but just in terms of the Chiefs. They reloaded multiple times, right, defensively over the years, adding a George Karlaftis, adding a McDuffie. Like, you need that kind of draft here coming up, or you need to get lucky with, like, a mid-tier free agent here if you can find, like, a diamond in the rough. You need to hit on multiple pieces, multiple transactions here in the offseason. I think especially on the defensive side. Offense, you can make the justification that better injury luck would have helped you. Defense needs to be completely retouched up, redone. 100-point restoration in the words of the famous Tony Stark. Like that defense cannot come back in any way, shape, or form looking like the way it does right now next season. It cannot. So that's what the Commanders' blueprint has to be in the summer. But before we move on, because we are technically done, these were the 8 teams that we had talked about going into this. 6 teams from last year's postseason are currently on the outside looking in. Very much need to get it together. But Justin, I mean, it was the 2 of us 2 years ago before that fabled 2023 campaign. I'll let you be the Panthers' truther here. Campaign for the Panthers. Smack your fist on whatever table you're in front of right now or however you want to do it. Maybe throw a pillow in indignation in the couch. Give a speech as to why we need to stop overlooking the Carolina Panthers right now, Justin. Well, you were all gung-ho to include them in the conversation
I just thought that they were a more relevant team than the Commanders. They have a much better shot at making the playoffs than the Washington Commanders. They do have a tougher schedule coming up, like I said. But they're 6-5 right now. They've beaten teams where we didn't think they could beat them. The only team with a losing record left on their schedule is the Saints. But who knows? I mean, with the way the defense is played and the way that offense sometimes comes alive, is it unheard of for them to beat a team like the 49ers or the Seahawks? Maybe if the Bucs are real injured, it's not impossible, but I'm not sitting here saying they're a sure thing. I mean, especially as a team on the outside looking in, and they need this win this week against the 49ers. That's the difference between maybe being a playoff team and maybe not being a playoff team. But Panthers truther?
Yes.
But yeah, I listen, I'm not sitting here saying that I think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs, but I'm saying they are definitely more relevant than some of the other teams we spoke about.
Hey, it's how the cookie crumbles. I mean, well, we spoke about the missing playoff teams and the teams that had the most preseason.
Why are you so anti-Carolina, Jared?
I'm not. Hey, I was on the front line with you a couple seasons ago.
What have they done to you? Yeah, we were so wrong that season.
we
had such an easy schedule, and they ended up being so bad.
Yeah, generationally awful. Generationally awful. I mean, here's where they do deserve credit. After that generationally bad 2023, they still weren't great last year, but they've turned it around. Rico Dowdle has been phenomenal, to say the very least. There was that brief rumor at the trade deadline where, for a moment, a lot of people, us included, thought that he had been dealt. And then it turns out whatever rumors those were either unsubstantiated. Is that the
unsubstantiated?
Unsubstantiated. Either they were false or just the trade fell through if there was a trade in place. But Rico Dowdle remained in the backfield for the team. Ted McMillan has been phenomenal. If only he could have a couple more touchdown catches, it might be him being the offensive rookie of the year leader in the clubhouse, along either him or Egbuka. He's been phenomenal, to say the very least. And this defense, this defense has suffered through the last couple of seasons, just either with mismanagement, bad injury luck, everything. And yet they're in this position. That's why, Justin, it was the two of us on the front lines for this team 2 years ago sticking up for them. And now they're 6-5 in it. Yet you, more than me, are the Panthers trooper right now. You need to let the people know that the future is blue and black. Everyone's going to be feeling black and blue after they face the Panthers. Justin, come on.
I think there's a better chance of the future being blue and white than blue and black.
Blue and white? But what team is that referring to?
Our MVP, bro. Big Jonathan Taylor and Danny Dimes.
That's true. That's true. Well, hold on. Justin, with what happened to the penny here recently, I've been calling him Danny Dollar Signs. We may not be able to call him dimes here in a couple of years, depending on what happens.
A couple of years before they get rid of the dime too.
Well, they're going to get rid of the nickel first.
Yeah, right, exactly. We don't call him Danny Nickels. Can't call him Danny Pennies anymore.
Oh, did anyone call him?
Yeah, my friend who's a Giants fan, he's just calling me. He's like, yeah, no, it's Danny Pennies. He hasn't earned a dime yet.
Oh, that's actually clever. I gotta give him that. That's actually funny. Oh man, hey, but that's why I've been calling him Danny Dollar Signs for a while now. Whenever he plays well,
that's Steve.
Shout out to Steve. Shout out to my guy Bars as well. Oh, he's actually, hold on. You weren't here for it last week, so ladies and gentlemen, spoiler alert: the Podfather will be joining us here in relative short order. He's
what?
Yes. I've gotten radio contact with him. That's why I've had to mute here a couple times. I have to use an old AM radio.
Video.
Yeah. Yes. we might get video. So he will join us here momentarily. Justin, this news broke during your escapades throughout the world in Justin's world journeys here in recent weeks. What were your thoughts about not the Panthers anymore? Still a Panthers trooper, but that's what we're talking about. What were your thoughts about the Dayball firing in short order? Was it ultimately the right move for the Giants to make? Spoiler, it probably was, but your reaction to the firing and not who they have to hire. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that to give me a coach, but the philosophy of a coach that the Giants need to hire.
I think that there's probably more than meets the eye with that supposedly he was a hard person to work with. And when you're losing games in the fourth quarter that you had double-digit leads in, it's not conducive to being hard to work with. But I don't necessarily believe in firing a coach midseason, especially with a young quarterback at the helm. They've struggled to rebuild that offensive line. They've struggled because their quarterback is taking hits. They just lost their young running back who was having a great rookie season. It's hard to, especially after being in the fourth year, it's hard to not sit here and say that he didn't deserve to be fired. Like, he deserved to be fired. I just think I would have either done it last year or waited till next year. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help the team at all. It just puts your team under that much more duress and turmoil. It's not like he was so egregious that he needed to be fired mid-season. It wasn't great. He was clearly on his way out. But I just think that good organizations don't pull moves like that. And as nice as it is to see Jackson Dart and what was Cam Scattaboo and Malik Neighbors, really, really doing something for that offense, it almost kind of feels more like a Linsanity thing now than an actual move forward. And I could be wrong. I hope I am. I root for the Giants. I'm not one of those Jets fans that says we can be the only good New York team. That's not how it works. They're not even in the same conference. Let them win every game that doesn't affect the Jets. But yeah, I don't see it, especially the way this kid has been taking hits. The style of play for this team doesn't seem sustainable. And again, he's had to run the ball more often than he probably would have with some better receiving play. But I'm not sitting here and saying that I think that the Giants are going to be really good going forward. I don't know what they're going to be. Their coaching staff is in turmoil. They can never seem to get their offensive line right. Their quarterback situation seems like it's kind of a mess right now. Now they're paying 3 quarterbacks, although now one of them is going to be out again because he's had his 4th concussion this year. And apparently they had tried to cover up a couple as well. So
yeah, not great.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think of this Giants team right now, but I'm not leaning towards positivity.
Which that mismanagement of Dart kind of was the last straw, you could almost say, for Dayball's tenure. And like you said, early in the season, there was issues on who to start and like management ownership, essentially directly communicating with the team on, who to start and when. This season was kind of a whole mess, like you said. I mean, now you have Mike Kafka. He's going to be the interim coach going forward, the offensive coordinator. We know Rick totally loved that decision by the Giants ultimately to go with Mike Kafka going forward. So we'll see with that. But no, yeah, it's kind of like what we said to an extent. They're just a bad team fires a coach midseason, and now they need to go forward. Maybe they'll have some promising games to end off, and then you hope that they make the right hire. Quick yes or no before we bring in the Podfather. Do you think Joe Shane should have also been fired, or do you think it's the right choice to give him? Yeah, we always talk about GMs typically, unless they did a god-awful job, get 2 head coaches. So this was his first one. This next summer he gets a second.
Maybe the only glimmer of hope is that they're actually going to allow Shane to get some real research done and do some real thought and work into hiring the right head coach. But I mean, he's had bright spots and he's had low spots. They have to see if he can really fix some of the real problem areas, because again, some of those areas are real problem areas. They've got a good defensive line. They've got a decent receiver and some decent run play, but they have no offensive line. They have no secondary. And realistically, their quarterback situation, as good as it's looked this year at times, is still a big question mark. So we're going to really have to see what he has in mind and what they think they're going to do to improve this team.
Yep. And that's all going to start with whoever he ends up making the decision to hire here come next spring. So it'll be interesting, to say the very least. All right, Justin, we reviewed the teams on the outside looking in with a little bit of extra analysis here for the likes of the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, and a footnote to return to the Dolphins here in maybe like 1 or 2 weeks' time, depending on how they perform. We're going to move on to the next section of the program, as the people are very much well aware of it, is the hashtag SAOC Pick Challenge. And of course, everyone's going to be like, oh, there's only 2 of you on the screen. Which, to be fair, we were able to do the Pick Challenge last week with only 2 of us. But
yeah, one of us couldn't make it.
Indeed. Our third man is here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You love him. He is the orator of this podcast come the holiday time. the return of a nice little holiday special rant, I think, next month is allegedly on the docket from what I've heard. Rumors say, Justin. Rumors say. Allegedly. This man is joining us here from the usual room. We thought he was going to be in an undisclosed location, but we can see here clearly he is in his usual abode with giants blue on the walls behind him. You know him, you love him. He's certainly a chaos stirrer here on the podcast, to say the very least. That's part of the reason that chaos is in the name of the show to begin with. Ladies and gentlemen, the record keeper of the hashtag SAOC Pick Challenge, the Podfather.
Kafka. Oh, God. Sorry. I woke up and I had a bad dream that Mike Kafka was the head coach of the New York Giants. Oh, God.
Is that definitely a bad dream. Definitely a bad dream. Nothing we need to update him on, Justin. Now, Podfather, welcome to the show.
Yeah, nice of you to join us.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You're not here for 2 damn weeks. I don't talk about me. I talk to me about this. Oh, let me go transcend the world. Let me go to the Netherlands. Let me go to Los Angeles for work and not be there for the podcast at all. I didn't want to come at me. 4 o'clock in the morning this morning, I'm up. And all of a sudden, no, just because I'm in the Dutch wonderland of the Netherlands and all of a sudden I have to go to Los Angeles for a conference. And, oh, my God, it's raining in L.A. Whatever am I going to do with my life?
Yeah. How come it never rains in Southern California?
It only rained when you were there, obviously.
I know. Clearly, I brought the weather.
You brought the weather and the pens, obviously.
Pens. Rick, fun fact here really fast. Yes. Not just 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Justin hasn't joined us since the Old Man Joe Does It Again episode when we covered that Bengals upset win. Because remember, that after that was the hot seat-o-meter, which was the traditional Justin the show episode.
Oh yeah. I began to forget that we had a third member of the team, even though he is leading the pick challenge. But in absentia is the Latin term we'd use there for that.
Oh, perfection. So speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, jazz hands. Hashtag SAOC Pick Challenge here for myself, the Iceman, our Games Master, and the Podfather himself, where the three of us go throughout the league through the games on the gridiron that will be played this upcoming weekend, and also Thursday night and Monday night. And we decide on a 4 to 1 point pick scale the games that we want to select. Kind of a confidence meter, really, anything when it comes to these games. 4 being the most confident, 1 pointer being the least confident. We look at the lines of these games to help us decide who is the favorite going in, to help us end up deciding at minimum 1 upset pick in our 4 selections we make. The upset pick must be used within the first 3 selections. Lowest point total it can be allocated for is with the 2-point pick. And speaking of the concept of the upset, we are picking straight up winners. We are not picking teams to cover, money line, anything like that. We're just using the lines of who is favored going in to help us pick teams to base off of who's favored and who is the underdog going into the game. The lines for us are given to us by our, not soon to no longer be our friends, but still our current friends at the given moment, by our friends at...
Oh, is that me? I've taken a long time off. It's ESPN Bet, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like you took off for so long that they dropped the partnership. Your fault.
The last time Justin was here, ESPN. Yes. The last time Justin was here, ESPN Bet had a future. It's been a while.
It has been, hasn't it?
It's been a while to say the very least. And the last thing I can note is we could pick a tie if we so choose, and it must be used with our 4-point selection that gets upgraded to a 5-point selection. That, I think, is everything that covers the hashtag SAOC Pick Challenge. Podfather, I leave it to you.
Well, some of us try to pick a tie and it never works out, and then we don't pick a tie and it ends up working out perfect. So,
You're telling me.
Well, I am telling you, but, well, we could have had 2 perfect weeks. Actually, no, I'm sorry, 3 perfect weeks last week, but we decided for 1. So, because we made a bit of a snafu in our picks judgment last week, gentlemen. We double picked a game, actually. Justin had a game with 4 points that the kids ended up picking, and there were some miscalculations on my end, and ended up being so basically Justin picked Green Bay to beat the Giants, and in our text chain we had the Giants beating Green Bay for the kids. And then I had to remind them that no, that game was gone, and there was one game left, and by that point, it was already over. So retroactively, the pick that they switched off to was the Steelers winning, so they did. So that gave them 47 points. I saw the drama just because I want there to be a little more chaos towards the end of the season. So the kids have 47, or the entity, if you will. Yeah. I could have had 2 imperfect weeks in a row, which would have led to a rain podium this week of my top 5 favorite Dunkin' Donuts brand donuts of all time. But yeah, thankfully, the Bears won. So my new best friend Adam Rank got not only a podium dedicated to how great he is, but also his own team winning last week. So I assume Justin still hasn't watched the show back from last week. So
why would he?
Why wouldn't he is the better question, obviously.
Yeah, I want to. I have not had a chance.
Yeah, exactly. You've been too busy, not being on the show to watch the show. It's fine, though.
Busy guy, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
That's fine. In any event, so I have 57. I have 57 points. So I'm 10 clear of the entity. There's a nice big gap between third and second place. Jerg, Detroit kind of screwed you over, man.
That offense, tough.
They could have had 2 perfect weeks in a row, but instead you're settling for a nice 7-point total to get you to 75. And Justin was undone by the Chargers being fraudulent, which we all should have known by this point. But it was only his 1-point pick, so he's at 79, so he's back in a 4-point lead going into this week. So yeah. Oh God, I hate you even more now.
Nice shades.
Yeah.
All things considered, it was double digits just a couple weeks back. Like we were worried he was going to run away with it.
Yeah, and it's not how fast you run. It's how many people are chasing you while you're running. That's the problem. So I don't even know. That's just somewhere in the ether.
Not even. That's whether or not they can catch you.
Well, granted, yes, but still. Marathons, not sprints. Anywho, so we have I think we have 14 games to pick from this week, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the Commanders and Dolphins have a bye because they were in Madrid last week. And I think the Broncos have a bye as well. So somebody else has a bye that I'm
From what I'm looking at, the Chargers are absent from the games this week.
Oh, well, how nice for them. When you get spanked by Trevor Lawrence in the Christian way, of course, then you go
in the Christian way, of course.
Well, you have to, yeah. So that leads to our 4-point selections here. As tempted as I am to do what I did last week and do upsets all around, I'm not going to do that. But I am going to.
For you, though.
I mean, no, but I am going to take an upset at 4 points just because I believe. See, here's the thing: if I don't believe he's starting in this game, but if his backup's there, I think they'll have a bit of a better chance of winning this one because they're playing a team that's a little bit up and coming, but I still think they're not quite there yet. It's a better defensive matchup against the offensive quarterback that they have. So I'm going to take the Steelers as my 4-point upset pick over the Bears.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take that one. Yeah. Again, I think this is a pivotal game on both sides. Chicago needs this to kind of legitimize themselves or keep themselves legitimate in the NFC North race. But the Steelers need this because Baltimore, for everything they're trying to lose games. They're still, there. And then I think this is supposedly the last week potentially without Burrow for Cincinnati. Don't tell the injury demon, but that's something that we have to watch for. But I think the Steelers need this one too. So give me Pittsburgh to take this one. I know we're not going to have Rodgers. It's going to be Mason Rudolph. I don't see anything wrong with that potentially. I think Mason Rudolph is going to be fine. And yeah, I think the defense will play really well against Chicago's offense. So.
The injury demon is going to be in shambles once Joe Burrow figures out.
Awful. It's going to be awful.
Tough to see. Yeah. All right, my turn for my 4-point selection. So that worked because I was slightly considering the Steelers maybe as a 3 or 2-point upset pick, but yeah, because honestly, I'm looking at the slate. It feels interesting if, depending on some of these games, if we want to try to go for upsets here, which should make our picks very interesting here going forward. For myself, this is a week that's very interesting because there's a good amount of spreads across the field, eh? There's a good amount of spreads for this.
Three.
I don't know why.
my new team in Saskatchewan, eh?
The Saskatchewan Roughriders,
CFL champions, baby.
Yes, sir. Back to Saskatchewan.
Yep.
I am going to go with. See, I'm kind of iffy with this game, but this team is coming off a loss.
The Jets?
No.
He's picking the Titans.
Oh.
Somewhat ironic. The Seahawks are coming off a tough loss. They need to bounce back, even though it's an AFC game and it technically doesn't mean as much because, conference win records. They still need to just keep pace with the Rams. They need this win. It was a tough loss for Sam Darnold. He's going to bounce back. I'll have the Seahawks at my 4-point pick over the Titans.
Sam Darnold, Ring of Honor candidacy, lore. Supplanting Geno Smith in Seattle?
He needs to do a little bit more right now, but it's looking good at the moment. Look. Even though I made a joke about him earlier, Bill Belichick's college career does not affect his NFL career coaching-wise, and Geno Smith's Raiders tenure does not affect his Seahawks tenure in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Sure.
I appreciate the handouts, guys. I'll take Detroit at 4 and New England at 3.
I mean, actually, this ended up well for me because I'll take the Ravens at my 3-point pick. Because I knew you were not going to pick that game.
I don't bet on the Jets, win or lose. Either way, they will screw you.
So I got what I wanted there.
I mean, listen, if anything, teaches us something here, it's that New England playing in Cincinnati against the Bengals is not a given. It's not an easy game.
They won last year.
No, they didn't win last year.
Yeah, they did. Week 1, they beat the Bengals last year.
Well, true, but again, it doesn't mean it's always a given to do that. It was last year. I remember where I was 2 minutes ago.
So many people from pick'em pools. It was
well, it was quite lovely actually. Where am I? I'm at 3 and I'm at 2 now. I'm not touching Vegas Cleveland for obvious reasons. I don't want to be at any of those spots potentially. Thank you very much. My upset's gone already because I already picked that one. So I can have a little bit of fun here. You know what? Give me the riding high off of a convincing win. Short week though for them, but I think they'll be okay. Give me the Bills at 3 over the Texans for that one there, and then at my 2-pointer. Did I do the same thing? I did this. I think did I do the same thing? No, I didn't do. I was close, right? Yeah, but I'll do it this week. Let me bookend the slate by taking the Niners over the Panthers at 2. So I'll have Thursday night and I'll have Monday night. Why not?
Panthers true for Justin will not like the fact that you picked against this team.
I'm playing San Francisco.
Panthers defender.
It's a Christian McCaffrey revenge game, man.
So Justin and I are both locked into our upsets here at our 2-pointers.
Yes. Which is, for those keeping score at home, would be Indy over Kansas City, Cleveland over Vegas, Arizona over Jacksonville, the Vikings over the Packers, somehow the Falcons over the Saints. New Orleans is a 1.5-point favorite in that one. And then you'd have Tampa Bay over the Rams, the Sunday night game, and Dallas over Philadelphia.
Which, ironically, we were talking about the Cowboys, during this episode of, if they want to try to turn the season around, it needs to start with this game. And we were also talking about that Texans-Bills game, right? As if the Texans want to have any hope for themselves, this week and next week are kind of the critical weeks here for a lot of these teams to keep their seasons alive.
Yep.
Do I go bold or do I go brash?
Bold and brash. More like belongs in the trash.
I want to let Justin make the joke first before I made my pick. See, Justin, we don't do this enough where we make references only the two of us, getting that he has no idea what we're saying.
You don't get that reference?
I don't get much, dude. I don't get much. I mean, listen.
Next time I need a Division II swimming reference, I'm coming to you.
When I'm operating at a full capacity, I'm good. But when I'm operating on 2 hours of sleep, you never know what version you're gonna get of me. So,
as much as I want to try to be feisty, I've tried to pick against them twice with upsets, and it's blown up in my face. Like you said, Rick, the fact that the Saints are favored by 1.5, Kirk Cousins is finally going to get in a full game. I think he's going to be able to utilize Bijan here well. I think he can revive Darnell Mooney because he was randomly the receiver you could argue Kirk Cousins had the best chemistry with last season when he actually played. I'll go with the
$200 million backup.
What happened?
You're going to pick the $200 million backup?
Oh, yeah, his contract was dang near $200 million, eh? Oh, I mean, it's against the Saints. Is that really a high bar? So I will go with the Falcons over the Saints for me, and I've made bird selections with all three of my picks so far.
Well, they also don't have Drake London, I believe, correct?
Yes, but Kyle Pitts, Bijan, Darnell Mooney, Kirk Cousins always finds a way to get a random receiver like 100 yards when he can actually play a little bit. So
got it.
Plus, the Saints are a team. He's had success against them before. He did beat them in that playoff game way back when.
Yes, way back when.
Way back when.
So also then I guess we're going to have a nice David Sills the 5th 100-yard game receiving.
Sure.
Okay. Fantasy. Let's go.
There you go. Has Gabriel been cleared from concussion protocol, or do we have a Shedeur Sanders game coming up?
Oh, crap.
I don't think Dylan Gabriel's been cleared.
Man, I was going to pick the Falcons, but I think I'm going to have to pick Shedeur Sanders for his first NFL win here. That's my upset pick. It's time. It's Shedeur time. I don't know if that's going to be the saying. It probably shouldn't be. And then
Shedeur, we say it. Shaless, Rick likes it.
Okay. Well, anyways, my 1-point pick will be Green Bay.
There you go.
Okay. That's fair.
And my 1-point pick will be no, that game was selected. That game was selected. I selected that game. Just looking at the schedule here. Now they'll somehow choke that game even though they shouldn't. Give me I didn't want to pick them with my 2-point upset. I will pick them as a 1-point upset. It's been a long time since I feel like I even picked this team. You know what? They need to save their season. If I'm betting on Lamar to have to come up big and save the season for the Ravens, I need to bet on this guy to do it as well. Backs against the wall. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs with my 1-point pick.
Not an upset though. They're favored.
No, I know. I switched from it being an upset to let me just go with the favorite.
Boy. Well, you've kind of left me, up the creek without a paddle, I suppose.
Real quick, Rick, do I need to prepare the wheel here for the pod children?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, let me get the wheel up and running.
You do. So, you know what? I'm gonna leave the NFC East game for them to choose because it's the lesser of two evils, and since they're both kind of more adorable than I am, they could survive picking the Eagles or the Cowboys and not draw the ire of the pod wife. Me, not so much, but that's when I get judo kicked in the sternum and while sleeping. That'd be great. Tampa let me down last week as a 1-point upset pick. So, and I wouldn't want to go with them again. So I guess that means that I'm going to have to... I don't really like this, but I don't really think I have much of a choice in the matter there, so I'm going to go with it as is. Give me the Jaguars to stumble after a big win last week, come out flat, and lose a surprising game to the Arizona Cardinals. So I think the Cardinals on a 1-pointer there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I was looking at that game and I'm like, oh, Jacksonville, did they get the big win? Probably likely to choke.
Yeah, not something to happen there. All right, so then the kids will take the Rams and the Cowboys in that order.
All right, and let me pull up the wheel.
I feel like in 2025 the Cowboys are the lesser of the evils versus the Eagles. Yeah.
So here are the point multipliers for the pod children / entity with 2 games.
If it hits 3x plus 2, I'm going home. I'm already at home.
I was gonna say you're already at home here.
Algebra.
Algebraic nominations.
Oh,
There
no.
it is. Yep, there it is.
No.
Cool. Well, it's been nice knowing y'all because clearly they're going to get both games and I'm going to lose, and then I'll start retreating into my darkness void once again, never to rant on the podcast waves again.
I mean, at minimum, we would still make you rant. And speaking of ranting, ladies and gentlemen, Podfather, you joined us for the pick challenge. There's one more thing you'll join us for, but real fast, please recap the pick challenge for everyone, and then we move on to the podium.
Oh, damn. Oh, yeah, sure. Right. Forgot about the admin part of this whole thing. Okay, so the kids, Rams and Cowboys with the 3x plus 2 multiplier, so be 3x being 3. 11 points there. Myself, Pittsburgh at 4, Buffalo at 3, San Francisco at 2, and Arizona at 1. Jurg, Seattle 4, Baltimore 3, Atlanta 2, Kansas City 1, and Justin, Detroit 4, New England 3, Cleveland 2, Green Bay 1. Upsets there are Cleveland, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Arizona, and Dallas for all y'all.
With that being said, we lay the floor, we secede to the Podfather. Podfather, no complimenting Adam Rankin needed this week. Just a straight up good old fashioned red podium.
I mean, thank God for that, honestly, because I was gonna lose all sorts of nonsense. Yeah, we gotta talk about it because it bears significance here. Even though I didn't mention it last week, of course, I'll mention it for a red podium is and always will be the Dallas Cowboys because it's only fair to do that. Number 3, there is an article of clothing that has drawn a lot of attention this season in the world of sports, considering the fact that when it was worn up until this past week, the team that had their head coach wear it wouldn't lose. Unfortunately, that team didn't realize that the person who was wearing this thing was a total bum and a fraud. And that would be Kalen DeBoer and his black hoodie as the Alabama head coach. I'm sorry. Once again, you're a fraud. You're a bum. You're not Saban. Stop. And Alabama, do what Auburn did and fire this man because, we need another football head coach to have a $45 million, $50 million buyout, which, again, just signifies that we don't know what we're doing in society and the economy today. So please, just get rid of him, okay, please. Number 2 on my list. Let's go NFL-wise. Now, I could talk about Cam Scatterbo from last night on Monday Night Raw, but, that's been done. I thought about this, and I thought to myself, what could be worse than Cam Scatterbo on Monday Night Raw being part of the Red Podium? And then I received a gift from my friends over at Netflix, where they said, here is your crew for the 2 games that we have on Christmas Day. And at what point did Manti Te'o deserve any kind of analyst credit? Like, you can't even have a real girlfriend, let alone have a spot on the damn NFL broadcasting. Like, God, it's unbelievable. Not to mention the fact that, the golden opportunity that's missed right there of you don't have Chicago on Christmas night, and you still bring in Seth Rollins for the Packers-Vikings game to do what exactly? Like, to do what? Bert Kreischer is going to be half naked on game 1 because that's his thing, is that he does his things shirtless. Tom Segura is still alive somehow? Question mark. I didn't think so. And then this broadcasting team includes arguably the worst pairing, the lower than F tier for the second game of Noah Eagle and Drew Brees. And I'm sorry, but I would rather listen to a pair of honeybees sting a 4-year-old child than listen to Drew Brees talk about the NFL. It's just he's not interesting. He's not interesting. You could have thrown 95,000 passing yards. If you're not interesting, you can't do this. And Noah, yeah, nepotism at its finest. You're not your father, Noah. So stop it. Speaking of stop it, number one, I thought about this for quite a long time here, and I thought to myself, well, that should have been my number one, the Netflix crib. And then the Australian doctors lobbed a nice softball for me to hit. And I'm going to lose some people here, but this one deserves mentioning. There's a study that came out that says that in our current 2025 world, parents now need to ask their babies for consent to change their diapers. Can you just imagine how this is going to go? I'm a father of a 2-year-old. I can tell you how it goes. Because it's going to be the whole time. Pod daughter, you need a diaper change. No, pod daughter, no. Like, we already know it's out the window. Out the bloody window. Like, it's supposed to be like, always supposed to show them that this is like consented everything and this is what's going on. Like, fine, I get that, no big deal, but it's just like, what? We have nothing better to do scientifically than to monitor that, especially in Australia. I mean, you haven't figured out a cure for the cane toad epidemic that you have. You haven't figured out why Foster's is a terrible beer, because it is. And now you have this. Listen, if it was a team of kangaroos that came up with this study instead of scientists, I'd say sure. It's fine. Kangaroos, whatever. Boxing, yada, yada. But these are people who have like actual PhDs and doctorate degrees. And it ruins the doctoral degree for those who are trying to get them. Like me. Like, why would I want to be associated with the same people that are going about doing this study? It's ridiculous. It's fraudulent. It's almost like, dare I say it, it's almost like watching an NFL show with Adam Rank on it being fraudulent as well. Ha ha! I'm back, baby. I'm back. And Duncan sucks forever. Except Starbucks are the second honorable mention tonight, because have you ever noticed at Starbucks when you try and order food from Starbucks, if you ever do, they never have any sauce on there, and you want like some sort of sauce on the food, but the only sauce they offer you is sriracha, and it's like, show me a world where you're more yuppie than having sriracha on a double smoked bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. Like, I don't want sriracha there. Nobody likes sriracha. It's a bad condiment. I think. And with that in mind, I think that Rain Podium is over. Oh, wait. Narcolepsy.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this week's edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. Late appearance by the Podfather as the pick challenge heats up and another Rain Podium done. We've reviewed the playoff teams from last year that are not in the picture this year. Will these teams be able to clutch up here in the last, less than half of the season, last 45% or so of the season? We'll see. There's less than 2 full months left of football, I believe, from my calculations.
No. Shane Bowen, get out of here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, so much to play for in football. We're going to have a lot of fun breaking down the constant, ever-evolving playoff picture over the next couple of weeks, to say the very least. And our own pick challenge picture should be a fun one as well. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. And we will see you guys next time for more football analysis, more chaos to come. Thank you, and have a wonderful night. Take care, everyone.